Despite its horrible sales, atrocious marketing, and tremendously underwhelming overall performance, the Nintendo Wii U has cast a major shadow over its successor, the Nintendo Switch, for the Switch's entire lifespan. We are still receiving ports of Wii U games to this day, and even though a lot of Nintendo fans with rose-tinted glasses won't agree with this, the Switch overall is by far the better console when compared to the Wii U, and it's not particularly close. However, there's a lot of stuff that the Wii U actually did far better than the Switch, and this isn't just small things. These are huge system-selling aspects that the Nintendo Switch's underwhelming predecessor somehow got way better than the Switch itself. Some of these features, even if you had a Wii U, you might not have ever actually used, but they're incredibly important to talk about, not just to pay homage to what I consider to be one of the most underrated consoles of all time, but also because Nintendo's gearing up to release the Nintendo Switch 2. And by learning what Nintendo has already done well on the Wii U but failed to do on the Switch, we can see what the Switch 2 needs to do to make such a monumental jump from one of Nintendo's best-selling consoles of all time. So let's just get right into it. Here is everything that the Wii U did better than the Switch, and for each of these aspects, I'm going to talk about how the Switch 2 could potentially implement these in to create the best Nintendo console we've ever seen. Alright, starting off, we are going to talk about the online, as frankly, the online service provided for the Wii U was far and away better than the one we have on Switch, despite the fact that it was free and now we have to pay for it. First thing I want to talk about is Wara Wara Plaza. This is one of the first things you see when booting up your Wii U, and it instantly gave the console more personality than the Switch has even close to 8 years after its release. This plaza is populated by a bunch of different Miis that before the shutdown of the Wii U's online services would gather around different games they're playing and display little doodles and Miiverse posts. Now it's just Nintendo's default Miis handing out tips and tricks, but this hub made the console feel a lot more social. While I don't expect this to be on the Switch 2's menu, adding in some sort of app, kind of like Animal Crossing Plaza, which was pretty much just Wara Wara Plaza but with an Animal Crossing coat of paint, that comes pre-installed with Switch 2 would be a great way to make the Nintendo Switch online service actually feel more like an online social service that connects you with other Switch users. However, that's a quick and easy one. Now let's talk about the best online feature that the Wii U introduced. You all know it, you all love it. I'm talking about Wii U Chat. Okay, yeah, we'll get to the big green guy soon enough. But Wii U Chat was absolutely insane. How did we not get a version of this on the Switch? For those who don't know, Wii U Chat was a pre-installed app on the Wii U that basically acted as Nintendo's own Skype or FaceTime. Again, while it's offline now due to the closure of the Nintendo network, the fact that the console that didn't require you to pay online actually had some form of usable voice and even video chat compared to the Switch, which doesn't even have a microphone, is insane. If we do get Switch 2, we absolutely need some sort of party chat feature. While I doubt Switch 2 will have a built-in camera, maybe it has a special camera attachment though, some form of built-in voice chat will be critical for this console's success, and again, Wii U had this without even requiring users to pay for online. It's criminal to me that the Switch doesn't have this, despite charging every user to sign up for the Nintendo Switch online service. They have to include a Switch party chat or Wii U chat type successor in the next console. It's almost a must-do for Nintendo. Alright, now let's talk about what you all thought I was going to talk about. Let's get to Miiverse. Miiverse was Nintendo's social network that ran on the Wii U and 3DS, and this thing was an absolute blast. Having a Nintendo-specified social media program was just so fun. Not only is Miiverse home to some of the funniest posts you will ever see online, but again, it added a sense of community to this console. While Miis themselves are definitely on a decline, I mean, Nintendo released a Wii Sports successor that didn't even primarily feature the Miis themselves, some sort of Switchverse or Nintendo Switch social network would be insane here. People clearly still want it, as a lot of people were hoping this is what the NSO playtest was for. Again, it probably won't be called Miiverse, I think they're done with that, but some form of ability to post stuff on your Switch to a Nintendo-themed social network would be a great way to boost the offerings of the Nintendo Switch online subscription, while once again making the console have more of that sense of community. Moving on, I want to talk about the Nintendo Network ID, as this was basically your username that people could search up on Miiverse or whatever to find your profile. This has been replaced with the Nintendo Friend Code system, and oh boy, I have something to say about this. Nintendo, if you're gonna allow us to add friends to our profile, why, oh why, do we have to type in a randomly generated code to actually find them? You already had a username-based system which worked fine. You could search up people's Nintendo Network IDs on Miiverse, and this was an ID that they came up with. This wasn't some randomly generated Nintendo code. Again, I promise I'm not going to be just talking about the online for this entire video. In fact, this is probably the last main feature that has to do specifically with the online service, but it is absolutely ludicrous to me that the console that didn't require you to pay for online had built-in video chat, its own social network, and a system where you could set your own username, and then the console that makes you pay for online has none of that, and then friend codes. Oh boy. Alright, enough complaining about that. Let's talk next about backwards compatibility. This is one of the biggest things that the Switch 2 frankly needs to have. But I am not just talking about the backwards compatibility for games. I want backwards compatibility for something else too, but we'll get to that in a second. First of all, let's focus on the games though. The Wii U could play Wii games, which instantly gave everyone who bought the Wii U a massive catalog because you almost definitely already had a Wii. The console sold so well, but the Switch has actually sold better. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Switch has the highest attach rate out of any Nintendo console, meaning that games sell better on the Switch compared to games selling on the Wii. There are more people who own the Nintendo Switch, and out of those people, they have a higher likelihood of actually owning Switch games. Because of that, being able to play these new games on your old console is a no-brainer. I'm pretty sure Nintendo won't fumble the bag here. Editor's note, as I was editing this video, Nintendo did announce that backwards compatibility is a confirmed thing for Switch 2, so they did not fumble the bag. That is a very good sign. I also want to talk about backwards compatibility for controllers though. What good is having a bunch of games, specifically multiplayer games, if you don't have enough controllers to actually play them on? The Wii U allowed you to use Wii controllers that had the Wii Motion Plus accessory built in right out of the box. So instantly, most Wii U owners had far more controllers than they actually needed, so they didn't need to go out and buy a bunch more Wiimotes to play any game's local multiplayer. The Switch 2 might have different Joy-Con. In fact, the Switch 1 Joy-Con might not even be able to be plugged into the Switch 2. However, luckily, Nintendo is now selling a charging stand allowing you to still charge your Switch 1 Joy-Cons if you don't have a Switch 1, which makes me think backwards compatibility here will still be definitely valid. Again, you might not be able to use backwards compatibility in handheld, as I'm not sure if they'll be able to attach the old controllers to the new console, but at least in TV and tabletop play, you should be able to connect them wirelessly, just so everyone has enough controllers to play local multiplayer games from day one. It would be incredibly anti-consumer if they did not do this, but because of the announcement of this charging dock, I'm cautiously optimistic they will. Speaking of anti-consumer, let's talk about the Virtual Console. The Virtual Console allowed you to purchase past Nintendo games a la carte from the eShop to play them on your Wii U. Obviously, Nintendo has kind of changed this up with the NSO subscription, giving you different games in like the NES Online app or the SNES N64 Online app. So you don't have to buy the games individually, but you're still paying for a subscription, so like you're paying for all the games. However, the Virtual Console was far better on the Wii U, and I have the numbers to prove it. There are 318 games that you were able to purchase on the Wii U's Virtual Console. And as of right now, all the Nintendo Switch Online services added together come out to 304 unique games, but a lot of these are also region specific, meaning you can only play them if you have a Japanese subscription or a US subscription. So not only does the Switch Virtual Console quote unquote have less games, but A, it's missing some absolute banger, no-brainer games that should be here, and B, they've had over 7 years to add in games at this point, and they still haven't passed their last console. That is just absurd to me. I understand that because Nintendo's not able to charge per game now, they have kind of less incentive to actually add games in, but I don't care. Nintendo, you're the one who decided to lock all this behind a subscription-based service. Switch 2 needs an absolutely massive boost in this area. It is utterly ridiculous that Nintendo is now charging a monthly subscription to play your old games rather than allowing you to just buy them straight up, and there's still less games that you can actually play on this console. I'm hoping that because the Wii U carried over a lot of the Wii Virtual Console games, all the NSO games you can play on your Switch right now will be available day one on Switch 2, kind of like how the Virtual Console was in part for the Wii U. Before we get into the next point, if you're enjoying this video, hit the subscribe button, and I know this video is probably titled something like everything the Wii U did better than the Switch, and in this video, I'm going through everything that I could find, but I'm sure there's actually a lot more. The Switch is honestly just so bare bones in some aspects, so once you finish this video, drop a comment down below letting me know if there's anything I missed that you would love to see make a return on the Switch 2 that the Wii U frankly did better than the Switch. While you're down there, if you have have not subscribed to the channel, it would seriously mean a lot if you click the button. Most of our viewers are not subscribed, and we're trying to hit 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about might not even be Nintendo's fault, but it's still something that the Wii U far surpassed the Switch in, and that is media apps. I'm talking apps like Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, Hulu. Some of these are on the Switch. I believe Hulu and YouTube are, but the fact that there's no Netflix app on the Switch, no Amazon Prime Video app on the Switch, it kind of blows my mind. I remember when Disney Plus initially released, they had a little graphic of everywhere they wanted to get Disney Plus on, and the Switch was on that graphic, but it's still not here like many years later. Especially considering the fact that the Wii U was built into your TV, so you already probably had like Netflix or Amazon Prime through maybe a Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, or just your smart TV UI itself. However, the Switch is obviously a tablet. You can take this thing on the go, so it's definitely more important to have media apps on this thing, as they can work both on your TV and on the go, but we have less here than on the Wii U. Someone make that make sense. Alright, the next thing the Wii U definitely outclassed the Switch in would have to be its launch games, and I'm not just talking about the games that actually came out at launch. I know that makes no sense because that's what I just said, but if we're talking straight up launch games, I think the Switch probably won just based off Breath of the Wild alone. I'm talking the launch games that show off the gimmicks of the new console. The Wii U had Nintendo Land, and the Switch had 1-2 Switch. Oh boy. There's really no contest here. Nintendo Land is filled with some of the greatest local multiplayer experiences you will ever have, and a handful of quality single-player experiences to boot. All of these expertly used the gamepad in different, unique ways, creating dynamic gameplay interactions that you simply couldn't get on any other console. I understand the Switch itself has an uphill battle to climb in this aspect. The main gimmick of the Switch can't really be translated to gameplay itself, as taking the Switch out of the dock and using it in handheld, despite being the Switch's main gimmick, can't really be used in individual games. However, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I straight up don't care. They can do better than 1-2 Switch for whatever the Switch 2's next game is. Nintendo Land was a pack-in with a lot of Wii U consoles. I doubt they'll do that just because Nintendo seems a little bit more stingy nowadays. But games like Nintendo Land, hell, even Wii Sports, are what 1-2 Switch tried to be, but completely failed in pretty much every aspect. Especially if you're gonna charge, what was it, like $50 for 1-2 Switch? Whatever the Switch 2 launch title is that's made to show off the console's new gimmick, because it will have some form of new gimmicks or technology that they want to show off. If they are going to charge for it, it just simply has to be better than 1-2 Switch full stop. Giving us something like Nintendo Land that has a lot of replayability would go a long way here. Next, I just want to talk about the personality that the Wii U had. Of course, a lot of this comes from Nintendo themselves. Nintendo in this era was a lot more experimental and fun, specifically within their communication towards fans. Like, if you look at Nintendo Directs from back then, and then look at them now, there's pretty much no comparison here. However, that's not necessarily what I want to talk about when bringing up the personality. Mainly, I want to talk about stuff like themes. The Wii U had different color-based themes, and while they weren't as cool as the 3DS's full-on wallpaper reskins with sound effects and music, I'll be damned if this isn't better than basic white and basic black. On top of that, the Wii U actually had music. Not just the ambiance on your home screen, but every single individual pre-installed app had an absolute banger soundtrack that is just completely missing on the Switch. Lastly, folders. The Wii U allowed you to make folders to organize your games, and the Switch does technically have folders that were added in some random update, but realistically, you're never going to use these. You have to go to the all games section and then sort by it just doesn't work. The Switch 2 needs to have a better UI with more personality. Maybe add in some menu music, actual themes, and allow us to group apps based on folders, or just sort them any way we want rather than just most recently played, which is all you can do on the Switch. The Wii U also featured two different systems at launch. There was the white Wii U and the black Wii U, which I believe was called the deluxe version. Now, you guys are about to really laugh at this. Granted, 2012 was a different time, but this was still unacceptable even back then. The white Wii U had 8 gigabytes of internal storage, while the deluxe version had 32 gigabytes. This is the same amount of storage that the Switch has by default, and granted, I understand the Switch has a micro SD card slot, you can expand the storage, whatever, but I would like the Switch 2 to at least allow consumers to have the option of buying a different console with more internal storage. It'll be more expensive, but that's fine. If you're someone who wants to get a lot of digital games, which are more important on the Switch now than ever, because you want to have that library with you on the go wherever you are, maybe having a 32 gigabyte and a 64 gigabyte, or dare I say, a 128 gigabyte. Ooh, Nintendo, that might scare you, but I mean, come on, it's 2024. This console will most likely launch in 2025. I don't think it's that insane to ask for 128 gigabytes of internal storage, at least as an option for consumers to purchase and pay a premium for if they want. The one-size-fits-all storage model that the Switch has continued throughout its lifespan really should go when it comes to Switch 2, and the Wii U actually did this again perfectly fine. fine. They offered two different console variations with different internal storage. Next thing, the internet browser. I feel like I'm going insane. One of the first videos I ever made on this channel, I was 14. I was a freshman in high school all the way back in 2017. I remember making a video baffled as to why the Switch didn't have an internet browser. Back then I was like, oh yeah, it'll probably be added along with like themes and other stuff in a future system update, and that was a lie. Oh, how naive I was for thinking Nintendo would include an internet browser on their modern console that charges you to use the internet in the first place. How do we not have a browser here? The Wii U had one. It was built in, pre-installed on day one, and again, did not require a subscription service to use. Now that they're charging us for this, how do we not have an internet browser? The Switch 2 needs to rectify this. Another thing I'd love to see on the Switch 2 is the return of the daily log. The Wii U and 3DS both had their own daily log applications in which you could go in and see exactly when you've played which game, how much you've played it for, the exact like hours and minutes you played each game on which day, and this was honestly incredibly useful. Not only did it give you accurate readings of play times, but you could see, oh wow, I have spent maybe way too much time on Super Mario 3D World within the last week. Okay, time to take a breather. Just kidding, there's no such thing as spending too much time on 3D World. That's the greatest game ever made. I will die on that hill. Okay, but you know what I mean. The Nintendo Switch 2 needs to have some form of daily log. I understand if you go to your profile, you can see kind of vaguely how much you've played some of the games you own, which honestly might even be worse than if they just didn't include this information at all, because like, Nintendo, you're clearly tracking the information, but just kind of arbitrarily deciding, yeah, I'll show you it for these games and we'll round it to the nearest like 5 or so hours, but that's about all the information you get. Nintendo, come on, what are we doing? All right, there are 3 more main things that the Wii U did far better than the Switch, but they all come in with one major category, that being the Nintendo eShop. Buying games digitally on your console is how a lot of people now are purchasing Nintendo games. And if I'm Nintendo, call me McDonald's because I'm loving it. Nintendo makes a bunch more money when you purchase something on the eShop. For first-party games, they don't have to pay for any sort of manufacturing. They don't pay for the cartridges. It's all digital. They don't have to pay a cut to a store that actually sells you the games. Like, you know, if you go to GameStop and buy a game, GameStop gets some money from that. So you would think, especially with a digital console where more people are going to want to have their full catalog with them at all times digitally, that Nintendo would improve the eShop going from the Wii U to the Switch. Unfortunately, the nosedive of quality here is absolutely absurd, and there's 3 main things that they absolutely need to fix for the Switch 2's eShop. The first thing is the quality of games. The Nintendo Switch eShop is absolutely disgusting. I could go on to ChatGPT, ask him to write like 5 lines of code, upload it to the Nintendo eShop, and it would probably get accepted. There is so much slop on here, like literal AI generated slop, that I cannot believe is even being offered on a Nintendo console. First of all, there are a lot of games here that are straight up like low-key, you know, a very adult content. Like, I don't want to say the exact word, but there's adult animated Japanese content just everywhere on the eShop, and a lot of it could potentially be AI and generated art. What are we even doing here, Nintendo? This is like the worst possible thing you could sell. On top of that, the eShop lags a ton. I don't know if it's because there's so many just filler games here, but man, how is your eShop lagging? This is disgusting. Finally, the most important thing for the eShop that the Switch 2 needs that the Wii U had, but the Switch doesn't, I'm talking about reviews, baby. Nintendo hit the double whammy for the Nintendo Switch eShop. And by double whammy, I mean they brutally messed up twice. Not only by allowing pretty much any game you could possibly think of on the Switch eShop, but by also removing the ability for users to submit reviews of each game. So now it's harder to weed out what actually good games are on the eShop, because on the Wii U, you could do 1 out of 5 stars and say whether it's more of like a casual or hardcore game. On the Switch, you can buy the game, and that's about it. Why, Nintendo? Would you remove the ability to review games on your own platform? This comes across as incredibly sketchy. Realistically, Nintendo probably was just like, yeah, that's too much extra work. We don't want to code in a review system. But I'm gonna be honest, the way this comes across as, yeah, we know we're about to flood this console with some of the worst slop you've ever seen. Now we're just not even gonna let users to sort by what other users enjoy, because why? Screw you, that's why. It's absolutely disgusting that you cannot review games on this console. Again, I'm not asking for a lot here. Let me choose 1 out of 5 stars and just rate the game. That is all I'm asking for, but apparently that's too much for Nintendo. Oh boy. Again, I touched on this in the personality section too, but like, how do we not have eShop music? That's utterly ridiculous. But yeah, the quality of the games, the lag, and the reviews are the main big problems I have with the Nintendo Switch eShop that need to be fixed for the Switch 2. And again, the Wii U did this better. The console that did not require you to pay for online had a better online storefront. How does this make sense? Please make this make sense. All right, I feel like I'm crashing out, so it's about time to end the video. But if you guys enjoyed this, please hit the like button and comment down below exactly what else you think the Wii U did better than the Switch. Again, we're trying to hit 250,000 subscribers, so if you aren't subscribed and enjoy the content or want to see some banger Switch 2 videos when that inevitably does get announced, hitting the subscribe button is the best way you can possibly help out the channel, and it seriously does mean a lot. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Thomas, signing off. Peace.